Hi there, folks. My name's Novawing24, and welcome to another episode of the Three Grumpy Simmers. Now, this one is a bit earlier than expected, but before we get too far into that, I'm going to introduce, of course, my regular two compatriots as part of our Three Grumpy Simmers lineup. Of course, we've got Sérgio from HeliSimmer.com.
Hey guys.
And of course, we have the purple hat wearing Tomcat pilot and teaching his Rio how to do its other stuff. Tomcat flying Belgeode.
Hey, howdy.
Have you nailed those landings? I'm pretty sure you're like day one you were on like the three wire, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I've had a bunch of three-wire traps. However, the last and probably most interesting one that I did was when I was showing my Rio around. He had finally learned, how to set up everything, to do the cold and dark startup. And we took off and we left, we were on a Persian Gulf map.
Hmm?
We found the Stennis, we came in, and the first time we trapped. And I don't know what the hell I did wrong, but all of a sudden we start sliding off to the port side of the boat, and we end up at an angle with one wheel hanging off the side of the boat. And I'm like, gas man, you want to call the chief and tell him to get the Tilly crane to pick us up out of here? Second landing, because we did it 3 times now. We had to practice it all 3 times. Complete startup all the way out to the boat and land. So second time we come in, I said to him, you ever wonder why I got the call sign Striker? And like no sooner I said that, ramp strike. Boom. Dead. So I said to him on SRS, now you know why they call me Striker. Third time around, we got in, nailed it. We actually ended up getting, what was it? I think a 4-wire, which is not really all that good, but it was as good as we were gonna get that day. Yeah.
Oh,
So we finally eventually got it. And
dear
he's
God.
like, he's ready for the next go around. He wants to try and, work the radar and see if we can do some air to air and whatnot. So
Well, there you go. Well, we look forward to
it's
seeing.
been fun.
We look
It's
forward
been
to
a lot
seeing
of
many
fun.
more Tomcattery videos coming to your channel soon. Now, we're bringing you this episode a little bit out of our regularly scheduled programming. We probably weren't going to do another episode for another week or two, but some unfolding events over the last 72 hours have brought us, and it definitely got my blood boiling as one. Um, Such to the point that I
That's a
actually,
way to put it, yes.
well, yes, okay, it is, and to the point where
I blame him.
to the point where there have been two very strongly worded op-eds that I have written about it. I have featured on my website, and of course, I am talking about the Milviz or Military Visualization's decision to go out and ask for community backing via Kickstarter to port over their as yet incomplete ATR-72 and bring it over to the X-Plane 11 world. So it's currently being developed for the ESP platforms. Well, actually, sorry, for Prepared V4 exclusively. I apologize. So we're here to talk about that because there's a lot of vitriol about it. There's a lot of content about it, and quite frankly, I'm terrified because of the precedent it's starting to set. So I'm probably gonna. I guess the first part is that we need to we need to establish the whole point about crowdfunding, and that's something that's becoming an increasingly everyday part of our digital lives, whether it be whether it be for an indie game, whether it be for getting a brand new camera or something, camera design built, or what was one I saw on Kickstarter the other week, something like a universal power supply, so it's got every country's plug in it, but also got a battery pack in it or something like that. So it's this interesting idea, and between Kickstarter, GoFundMe pages for various individual causes, it's becoming a very invasive part of our digital life. And I'm going to go to our resident software developer here, Sergio, and sort of go, where do you see the place for crowdsource funding like Kickstarters? Where do you see it where it should be, and where do you see it in relation to our hobby?
Hmm. Well, when I first started, to have some contact with Kickstarter and these crowdfunding platforms, I started to see it as a very democratic way for small companies to start and build themselves and build new products and bring new products into the industry. Um, I've always seen it as a way managing to get a group of investors without actually having anyone running your company, because um, when a company does a round of investment, money comes in, but you usually have people behind it that are going to take charge of the company or part of the company and basically be the boss, be your boss. You tend to lose a lot of control over your company and your product. And I've seen this as a way of companies to independent companies or indie companies, if you want to call them, to enter the market and to bring something to their clients, to their customers, and actually you know push their startup status forward, put a product out, the first product out, and then grow from there. um, I
So
don't
basically
see it.
establishing a name for themselves.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I don't see it as a tool to do the opposite.
Mm.
Um, Milvis is kind of doing the opposite here. They are established as a developer. They have a lot of products out there, and although I do understand that they want to get into this new platform, which is Explain, it kind of makes me feel weird to see a company like this one, coming out and asking people for money up
And
front for a
And
product
you
they're
know,
developing.
I'm sorry, Sergio. I'm going to cut you off there for a second because for 2 points. So first of all, one, yeah, I agree. I agree with you because I see crowdfunding as something to get as you said, Drew, an independent platform. So somewhere that's smaller, and as you said, Sergio, someone who's a smaller group that doesn't have, say, the bigger reach to reach the bigger investors to be able to get people to support them and get a small idea for an unknown company with a new idea to be able to get off the ground, not for an established company that's been producing content for the better part of 15 years to be able to do something. And also, but I'm going to pick up on something, it's not a new platform to them. They've already got an
No, there
Explain
are
product.
already products there. Yeah.
Yeah, they've already got an Explain product. They've got their Cessna 310R. They
True.
they
Yeah,
had it. They
that's
had
right.
it for
I have
ESP. They had it for ESP. They had it for FSX originally. They rebooted it to
yeah.
make it prepared compatible, and then they brought it over to Explain. They've already done it. This isn't a new platform to them now, and that's where it really, for me, starts the where the problems really start. Um, and I'm going to pick on this. So for folks who as I may not have known about this or may have been under a rock. So the point is that Milvies have actually taken to crowdfunding by claiming that um, it's the cost is, and I'm quoting here directly from their Kickstarter. So your pledge will help us cover the costs of, among others, systems translation from P3D, Max to Blender conversions, creation of custom data refs, ACFs, and all the other elements of Explain development. So, and this is and that line there myself, those lines right there, that's what really got me and really put my back up and really made me potentially very, very disgruntled. As anyone who's read my op-ed would probably read between the lines. Because straight up, the max to blender conversion, I call absolute bullshit on that. Because I literally did it at work. I literally did it at work because I've got a 3ds Max mesh. One of my colleagues doesn't like 3ds Max, he likes Blender. So I exported it as, instead of as a .max file, I exported it as a .obj, gave it to my colleague, and he opened it up in Blender. I didn't need $20,000
That
to do
actually
that.
brings to mind a good question here. When you actually examine the aircraft file that Explain uses,
The
I do
ACF.
notice that a number of those objects are actual OBJ file.
Yes.
So if you have the native capability of saving, the project you're working on as an OBJ file, isn't it already in a format that it needs to be in?
I'm
I don't
I,
think it is. I don't think it
I was gonna
is.
say I think it
Hmm.
might use the same extension,
It's
but
a
I don't know if
different,
it's
yeah.
I don't think
It's a
it's the same
different.
target.
No, it's a
Okay.
different format. There's a plugin for Blender which allows you
Yeah.
to export in X-Planes
Yeah.
OBJ format.
And
So
there's also
it's not the same.
and there's a
Okay.
plugin
But
for
Okay.
there's a plugin for 3ds
let me
Max that
ask
does
you
this.
something.
Hmm.
Let me ask you something, though, Tristan.
Hmm.
Was it an animated object? Was it
Yes.
just a mesh?
It was an
All the animation,
animated
all the
mesh, and all the
animations.
animations
Okay.
survived. With it,
Hmm.
the only painful thing is that the textures, Blender doesn't like them to be flipped like where they normally are with DDS.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to unflip all the textures
You had
manually.
to remap. Yeah, you had to
We had to
remap them.
remap the textures, but the actual mesh and all the animations survived.
Yeah. Okay. And do the animations work in Explain? That's another story.
That's another story. But yeah, either
Yeah.
way, it's sort of like stuff like
Well,
that.
that's where the data refs come in too, and all of that stuff.
So
Because the data refs are what they link everything to, basically.
and it's just, as I said, it's this whole concept of a company going to a a crowdfunding model to bring a project over to a platform that that they are they have already developed for at least once. And some of the things that they're listing here in the about and why they're trying to make the money, I'm sort of going, that doesn't make sense. Now, to put this to go back to Milviz though, is that in the last few hours they have actually come back and issued a further update on their Facebook page, because I'm going to get to another Facebook comment that they made. We're going to get that later in the video, where they've actually now outlined in more detail the story behind their the reason why they're going for the reason why they need a cash injection to be able to bring the ATR over to Explain. What was the interesting comment though? The most interesting comment though was the fact that the project was originally for Explain, not for ESP. I thought that was weird for a start. I'm like, your ATR 72, which you've been pushing on us for about 18 months, apparently was originally going to go to XP. It was never going to go to the ESP platform. But they chose to use the ESP version rather than Explain because they're more familiar with it. That's fine. I don't care about that. So they've got the 3D model, but they need to have the ACF files and the data refs done, and they're not familiar with it, and they're not used to doing it. They need money to be able to contract it out to get somebody else to do it. And I'm kind of like, well, sorry,
how do they do it for the 310?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Reading this exact thing that you're reading, Tristan, I think the answer is in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because they specifically mention one of the developers that's rather prolific with X-Plane, Jay Roland is the name that he goes by. I have some of his planes. Really wonderful stuff. So it sounds to me like with the 310, what they had done as kind of like a proof in concept was probably enlisted someone like that, or perhaps someone else. I don't know if it's specifically Jay Roland that helped them out with that, to bring it over. So honestly, I think that was the smart move on their part, but it almost sounds to me like it came to bite them in the butt, because they're talking about the huge amount of time and money that it's cost them.
Okay, well, hang on. Let's pick up on that point. Let's pick up on that, because I have no problem with outsourcing something to an expert to get it done. I have no problem with that, because at the end of the day, I don't know, how to do everything. I don't know, I don't own a lawnmower, so I outsource my lawn mowing. Because I don't have the tools, and I don't have the skills, and quite frankly don't have the time. So I outsource that. Okay, so on a grander scale, if you've got a content that you want to bring over to a sim, you outsource it. That's fine. Just Flight, Just Flight's in-house development team do some of the groundwork, but they outsource the final modifications to, I think it's Thoranda. Is it Thoranda?
Yeah, Thoranda.
So Thoranda. So they outsource it to Thoranda. Now, they, working in partnership with Thoranda, have ported over almost their entire catalogue of in-house development models from ESP over to X-Plane, and they never had to raise money off a Kickstarter. They got their costs back from the actual sales of the finished product.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so this begs my question is, I get that development is expensive. I get it. We're all three of us here, Sergio's the software developer, but, Drew and myself both do other development and other sort of creative pursuits and creative creations. You know, it costs money to do what we do. It does.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they're not going to be out of pocket to start with, but if they've got a market that wants the product, pretty sure that's how this works. I don't know, maybe I'm misreading the way the market's supposed to work, but you outlay money that puts you, yes, okay, probably in debt and probably, in a difficult position, but you do that if you do your market research and you know the market wants your product, and you set it at a price point that the market's willing to accept and willing to, that's a viable price point. So I can see Sergio laughing right now because that's another sore point. Anyway, then you're going to get that back. Just Flight have proven it over and over. Carinado and their brother company Alabeo have proven it over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Orbix have proven it. They were very late coming on board to X-Plane, but tell you what, they've come on with a vengeance now because they've done
Scenery support payment, yeah.
because they've seen the fact that they spend the money on the R&D, and let's be honest here, their whole effort into the FTX Global, that was a massive cost outlay for them.
Mm-hmm.
Vector was a massive cost outlay for them to get pilots to be able to create that for them. But it's paid off in the long run.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. Guys, do you think maybe I'm misinterpreting this? Maybe I've got it backwards, but to me that seems to be the right way of doing it. You acknowledge that, yes, you're going to have, maybe financial troubles, but if you do it at the start, then you're going to get it right because you're going to get money back off the sales. Yes.
Okay, let me say something here.
Okay.
And, you kind of notice I was smiling a bit.
Here it comes.
No, it's just like.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. They know we want this, right?
Oh,
they know we want this.
The arrogance of that statement. Oh.
They have no problems there because they know we want the product, so everybody's going to buy it.
No. Let's back up a second here. Who is this we? Because I sure as hell do not want an ATR-72. There is no way in hell I'm going to fly something like that.
No,
I can't trap that on a carrier deck. I can't take off vertically and land vertically with that sucker. It is of no use to me.
You are not the target. I am definitely.
I am perfectly happy with the freeware one that's kicking around for ESP. It's been modded. It will now work in V4.
Yeah, no, but now seriously, I can understand. I'm always playing devil's advocate, so I can understand where. Yeah, I'm playing his advocate. Notice the goatee the guy has? Yeah, right. So,
don't call me Drucifer for nothing, okay?
Yeah, that's right. I can understand that they may not have any to invest on this venture, but the thing is, they're not a new company anymore, and
they get back to
if they don't have the money, just get your neck out and make a loan or something. I cannot imagine the amount of times that the guys at Orbex have made loans or got some investors in this case they probably lost some control of the company, of the product or some products, but they did business the right way. And what really kind of ticks me off is not the fact that they are not as much the fact that they are asking for money on Kickstarter, but it's the freaking tears. Come on, guys! I'm not going Yeah, no. After a lot of guys have started to complain about it. I think they came out and said that anyone that
Mhm.
was going to buy into the first tiers would have a discount on the final product.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna pay to get
it's
my name on a manual or a livery. Come on, seriously.
so
That's
I
to
still
put
don't
so,
get
so
that.
for those who haven't seen the Kickstarter yet, so there are 4 tiers on offer from Milvies. Well, actually no, sorry, there's actually 5. There's 5 tiers. There's a pledge with no reward, so you can actually just
Hmm.
throw money at them, and you get nothing
Seems
for it.
legit.
Um,
Hmm.
so which is and that one, ironically, I actually have the least problem with. I actually have the least
yeah.
problem with that one
Just
because that's
just donate.
that's a donation.
Mm.
Not gonna lie, my website has a donate now button. If you like my work and you would like to support me and buy me a coffee, it's got a donate now button. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it does. And so that's the one I have the least issue with. But the tiers are on here. So that it's $8 or $10 or more. You get your name in the product manual when it's released. 50 Canadian dollars, or about 40 something US dollars or more, you get your name on a livery on the aircraft. So let's just look at those first 2 tiers for a second. We've got a manual that, let's be honest, if anybody's logged onto Facebook lately, you know that nobody reads.
They don't read it.
Sorry to people like me and the 3 of us that actually read the manual, but the vast majority don't. And then
I'm sorry. I laughed because last week when the Tomcat released, one of the first things posted on Facebook was, "When I get over 10,000 feet, my screen turns black. What's going on?" And all I could think of was, "Here we go, Zemo again."
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
And without fail,
But
guaranteed, every week you will see that. Why can't I turn this cabin pressure light off? And this off. Anyway, name on a custom livery that that. So let's be honest here. The market that's most likely going to buy this are people who fly for VAs or people who want to replicate VA, or real airline flights. So they're not going to fly a custom livery with a whole heap of people's names on it. They're going to be flying the livery of whatever virtual airline or airline that they're pretending to fly for. They're going to fly in that livery. So, okay, but that's fine. At least you're getting something for it. That's fine. But you do, and that was the original thing. Now, about 12 to 20 hours later, Milvia's turned around and said that, hey, you will be able to get a discount code equaling how much that you pledged, if you pledge to the lower tiers. So you can still buy the product, but you get a discount off that pledge. And I'm like, okay, I'm okay. I'm kind of a bit more okay with that. Then you have the top 2 tiers. These are the only tiers that actually let you get the finished product. And these are 135 Canadian dollars, so 100 US.
Roughly, yeah.
About 100 US, or 195 Canadian dollars, which I think is about 160 US ish dollars. Where you get the access to the aircraft once it's finished. If you do the higher one, you also get access. You also get early access to it as well. So you get to play with it in a beta build.
That's a lot. $160 is that's a
So
lot,
hold
man.
on. Let me see if I'm understanding this correctly. So for the highest tier, paying more than this aircraft is presumably worth, you're paying for early access?
Yes.
As a DCS user, I'm kind of used to the opposite. They're taking 10% off and also giving me early access. What's wrong with this picture here?
Because this is early access.
And then, of course, my
This is early
follow-on
access.
question.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
It's
so
early. It's early
assuming that
access.
they're okay with all of that, how much is this aircraft going to be retailing for?
Okay, so this is the second part where I flew. I will own this. I probably wrote the second part of my op-ed when I read the price point, the suggested price point, and I am disgusted. I've had a few people say that I was a little bit harsh with what I said. I actually stand by it. So and this goes back to, I alluded earlier in the episode where we're going to talk about a second Facebook post that Milvi's made in their comments. One of the comments was made, and I am going to bring it up here, is to know, a poll for what? To know if you want it. We know you want it in capitals. No is in capitals. Thing is, we're pretty sure you won't want to pay for it. The price is going to be $120 to $150.
Wait. That's a scale. That's not a price. That's a scale. Which is it?
Is that wait? Just let me. Is that Canadian dollars or US dollars?
So there's contention about this. Is that some people are claiming that's Canadian dollars. It doesn't specifically say. Now it doesn't specifically say it in the post. It just simply says $120 to $150.
Help me here. How much are the two top tiers at Kickstarter?
The two top tiers at Kickstarter are 135 Canadian dollars or 195 Canadian dollars.
So both of them are more expensive than the final price of the aircraft.
Correct. If the final price of the aircraft is in Canadian dollars, if the final price of the aircraft which they're quoting is in US dollars, which every other part of their store is sold in US dollars, is not sold in Canadian dollars, not a single one of their products is sold in Canadian dollars. All of their products are sold in US dollars.
Okay.
So the assumption and this is where the community splits. Some people saying that it's Canadian dollars, some people saying US dollars. I say it's US dollars because every single one of their products is sold in US dollars. They are not sold in Canadian dollars.
That would make sense, yeah.
So if it's US dollars, then all of the pledges are significantly more than... Actually, sorry, no, I tell a lie. No, sorry, the pledge, the second highest pledge, the $130 for Canadian dollars, is $100 US, which is actually less than what it would retail for.
Okay.
It's only the top tier pledge which gives you the early access, which would be above what you would pay if you just waited.
Okay, so you're basically.
But again, you're paying for early access.
Yeah. Either way.
No. You're getting it wrong. You're paying for the privilege of being a beta tester and finding bugs and dealing with a broken piece of software.
Please refer back to our previous episode talking about the debunking the beta testing. So we're talking about this, and this is my thing. So we've got this post that says that apparently we know we want it, and that the price is going to be $120 to $150. Now, again, as I said, I'm assuming that this is US dollars. I saw that, and I was grateful I didn't have coffee in my mouth this time round, and so I didn't spit it all over my monitor again. Because I just can't believe that price tag. I genuinely can't. Now, to put this into
perspective... Is this a new record?
Sorry?
Yeah.
No, it is.
That's what I was going to ask. Is this like a new price point record? Because I know we've always bitched about like PMDG and stuff like that when it comes to like really high price.
Let's put this into perspective here. An ATR-72. An ATR-72 is a twin turboprop regional airliner. Basically, it has one competitor in the real world, and that's the Dash 8 Q400. That's it. They carry this similar number of passengers, same engines, similar everything. They're basically, one's built in Europe, one's built in America. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
So to use that not as a real world example, but also a simulation example, let's look at the Majestic Q400. So again, for non-regional turboprop pilots, the Majestic simulations Majestic Q400, their rendition of the Dash 8. Has been considered second to none. Even PMDG only have one turboprop regional aircraft, the Jetstream 41, which is half the size, and it's $45 US is its price point. Now, Majestic...
That seemed kind of low for PMDG. What's wrong with it? Is it only half study level? What's going on with that?
It's probably, to be honest, it's because it's one of the first products they released. So it's old, and it is yet to be updated. It was never updated to work with FSX Steam Edition or Prepared 1, 2, and 3. It is apparently being worked on to be compatible with Prepared V4. which is really ironic because regular viewers of mine will know how I feel about PMDG. It is actually the only product of theirs I am actually waiting for. I actually want to buy. I actually want to fly the J41, and I will happily go through all the checklists for it because I actually like.
You better hope they don't ban you from their website ahead of time.
Anyway, so the point is that we've got Majestic simulation of the Q400. Okay, so we've got a competitor for the ATR in real life and in the virtual world. In the virtual world, the Majestic Q400 comes in 3 editions. You get the Pilot Edition, Pro Edition, or the Training Edition. So the Pilot Edition is their it's still considered it's designed, in their words, for home flight simmers who want a state-of-the-art hardcore add-on, so study level, but want to have some simplified features, such as the way circuit breakers are modeled, and minimal failures. Okay, so because the actual mean time before failure of components in an aircraft is pretty damn small, so okay, I can accept that, that's fine. There is the Pro Edition, which is for advanced users who want to simulate all aspects of the Q400, including the head-up guidance system, sharing cockpits with other virtual pilots, and some higher fidelities on the systems. Now, those products are worth, Sergio, I'm going to have to get you to do the math here, so it's €40 or €60. So
it's about, I don't know, $45 to $7, a bit less than $70.
Yeah, so I think it's, sweet FI. Then Majestic have their Training Edition. Now, their Training Edition is for real airlines training real pilots. Like, this isn't for your home user. This isn't for your home simmer. This is for people with actual pilot's license who actually need to maintain currency on the Q400. They make a version just for real pilots. The price point of that is $138.
For real pilots. So we're talking like the level D simulation motion thing.
It requires to be, it is meant to be set up with actual simulator hardware.
Okay. Well, that's the kind of price I would expect, really.
$138.
I would expect more, to be honest.
I expected like 1,000 plus.
Yeah.
So what's their secret? Why are they able to basically sell it for a song?
And that's my thing. Why are they able to sell a literal professional grade simulation software for potentially $20 less than what Milviz are proposing to sell to the home user, which is a approximation of an aircraft that's not certified to train real world pilots?
Because we want it.
The arrogance of that statement. And can I just wind back to that? If we want it so badly, and they feel
we'll just buy it.
Whatever kind of whacked out research they got to think that the community could even stomach $150 price point for an add-on, then why the hell do we need them? Do they need to charge the money for the Kickstarter in the first place?
Do you want to bet something? You want to make a bet?
I'm curious. Let me hear the odds first.
Well, yep.
People are going to buy it. We have said
that.
We have said this before. We are bringing this to ourselves. The community is bringing this. The community is bringing this to itself. The fact that developers, and like you said, Tristan, I'm a software developer, so I know the cost of software. But the fact that the first guy started to sell aircraft add-ons for over $100, and people started buying it, and then the second guy did the same, and people continue buying it, and then these third guys come over, and up the price a bit and people still buy it,
Mhm.
it's kind of like this kind of guy like the gas prices here in Portugal. They just rise, 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 rise,
Yep.
rise, and suddenly see a small drop on the sales, and then they just stop or just
Yeah, or
drop a
just
little
drop it
bit.
just enough. Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's
just
playing
for
the
people.
market, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that and it's they are selling this Jaguar for these prices because we
Because
keep on
people
Because
will
buying
we
buy
them.
keep
them.
buying it. Yeah, exactly.
We
And
keep on buying
Funny how that
them, and
works. Hmm.
we
so
keep on buying them and praising them and defending them, and t- s- calling trolls to everybody that doesn't agree with this kind of business or doesn't agree
yep.
with these prices. You know, nowadays what we see, it's this kind of this is tribal. I just wrote an article a couple of days ago about this. You know, the fact that we are tribal beings, and this is tribal. We have the guys that are going to defend the tribe on the Milvis or whatever tribe and their product,
Hmm.
because they need to feel validated by the fact that they are coughing up $150 for the product, and they need to feel that it's the best product out there. And as long as we keep on having people defending these companies like this, and I'm not saying that, like we were just saying, I'm not saying the Dash 8 would be worth $1,000 for the
Mm.
professional version, for the pilot version.
Majestic,
It
please
would,
don't start charging that. Please don't.
yes. No, but the thing is, I respect them a lot more because they are not.
Mm.
No, I respect them a lot more because they probably know they could sell it for 10 times more,
Hmm.
but they are not doing it. They did a product that they are probably selling a lot more units than they would if they were selling it at
Yeah.
$1,000. Because a lot of real pilots out there may be actually buying this product from them, even if they don't have uh, uh, the hardware to go with it. But they are probably buying this for 100 plus dollars
Mm.
than they would be for $1,000. But the thing is, as long as we, the community, continue to allow companies to raise the prices like
Yeah.
this, and again, I know software costs a lot of time and money to develop, but until we stop, we tell them to
And
stop,
until
and
we
we
as a
we
community
There's a
say
stop
better
the
way.
enough is
wallets.
enough. Until we as a community say
Yeah,
enough is enough.
There has to be a better way.
And
and we have to do it with our wallets and stop calling people names because guys disagree with you. We're not being trolls. We're just worried. I don't want to start buying helicopters for $100.
Fine.
I'm going to tell you right away. I'll just stop. I'll
yeah.
just you know there's a risk I'll stop. I actually quit the hobby. To be very honest with you,
Mm.
Yep.
I'm not going to buy $100 for an helicopter. If I want to buy two or three helicopters, dollars, guys, I have a daughter going to university. I have a lot more to spend
Yeah.
my money on than add-ons, right? So
I,
no, don't
and,
don't count me in.
and this
Don't
is
count me
and
in.
this is the thing. And this is what really terrifies me. And I think this is the main reason why I think I'm so upset by this, and why again, and while I flat out call it greed now, and I've been counseled by another developer that sort of said, it's not my place, and a developer I very very much I highly respect. It's not my place to sort of call them being greedy or call them being a thief for charging for going on this Kickstarter path, but the behavior you walk past is the standard you accept.
Mm.
And I want
I
everyone who's
think,
watching this to think about that, because
yeah.
it goes back to the point of, look, if this was a look, you know what, and here's where I'm saying I actually am okay with Kickstarter being used for flight simulation. I'm okay. However, it has to be a new company or a new idea
Mm.
from a startup, and not an established company, as we talked about before, that says, I want to do this, but I don't have an income stream from an established product line. I don't have experience, so I need a bit of help, and backed by Kickstarter's commitments and whatever, to actually be able to go, give me a hand up to get this out the door. You know, And that is where I would be okay with backing a Kickstarter. I have backed plenty of Kickstarters in my time for companies that are small indie developers, or small products that are very niche, very small, but for new developers, from people who are new to an industry. I've backed plenty of Kickstarters. I've been burnt by a couple of Kickstarters in my time as well. But that's part of that's part of what you accept as
That's
being
part of the risk.
It's part of the risk. But when an established company with an established product line of over 30 products, with a very, which would have a reasonable income stream coming in from their products, because again, I have issues with some of Milviz's behavior and some of their actions and some of their products, but at the end of the day, they still make a fairly good product for what they make a very good product. They do. I question and again, and we haven't even touched on the fact that their record with dealing with pre-orders and release dates is not exactly unblemished. When we look at the fact that they, the King Air, the mythical Milviz King Air 350.
Is that the one everyone is still waiting for?
I'm pretty sure it was either 6 or 8 years ago that was first floated to the community. And they took pre-orders. People forked out money for pre-orders.
They're still waiting.
Wow.
There is a
But hey, I got my Corsair though. I still have my Corsair and my Huey.
So, and this is the thing. And would you not agree? Like, I've got their F4 Phantom, and sliding straight past the fact that they're going to charge me to update to a TAC Pack edition, which I can't use TAC Pack in order to maintain prepared V4 compatibility. Sliding right past that issue. The F4 is actually, I really like their F4E. The F4J, I didn't. I thought it was a bit of a, let's just retexture an F4E and throw it out the door. But the F4E was really, really well done, and absolutely, I love flying it. But I'm not denying that they make good products. They make excellent quality products. But again, this is an established company with an established credit line. But they've got a very poor track record of delivering on pre-order, on pre-order promises. Of delivering on products, period, and now we're expected to trust them for us to throw money at them via Kickstarter, which at the end of the day, as we've just said, Kickstarter, part of the risk of Kickstarter is that it may not actually work out. You may not get the product.
Right.
So,
at which point in time, they would definitely be constituted as thieves if they were to, collect as much money in and never deliver on a product. So, from that aspect, I can see where you're coming from on that. And the thing that I have with Kickstarters, though, I agree with you. Totally. Whenever it comes to something that's groundbreaking, something that's new, like we see it a lot in the VR world. There's a lot of stuff that's being developed for VR that's being funded through Kickstarter. Pimax is a perfect example of that. The Pimax headset.
The tactile gloves?
Yeah. The gloves were also another Capto glove, and I think SensoryX the other one. And there's another guy that's been working on like little fingertip gloves, which actually I'm looking to see if I can get a hold of and test those out. But when it comes to like the aircraft development and so on, I can think of a few startups, if you will, that haven't had to go down the same road. I mean, the first two that come to mind, Hot Start. The TBM 900, which honestly I've been raving about, and a lot of people have been raving about. It, in my opinion, it sets the bar as to what a GA in X-Plane should be. But then now you also have TorqueSim. TorqueSim just launched their Pocket Rocket. That's their first product. Now, granted, they have a history with, and they have a history with like making scenery and so on. But this is the first time they've actually created a GA aircraft from the ground up, a high-performance GA aircraft. They didn't have to go this route. And they didn't. And you know what? It's selling like hotcakes already. So that's where, like you were saying, Tristan, I have a little bit of a problem with why they felt the need. And they even acknowledge it in this Facebook post that they had made on their page. They don't know anything about XP, so they're left with a couple of bad choices. And they do state bad choices in brackets. The first was to hire someone that can do that for them, or the second to learn to do it themselves. Well, they do have someone, unless, of course, the relationship is now null and void, and maybe that's what put them in this hole. It sounds like they're trying to recoup, like they've already put out all this money. They're trying to,
They're trying to recoup
stem
it.
the flow of blood,
Yeah.
basically.
And
But I think I think they went about it the wrong way. All this stuff that I'm reading right now makes a lot of sense. If I would have seen something like this before, if I were interested in the ATR, if I'd have seen this before seeing the Kickstarter, I might be more inclined to be like, okay, you know what? I know what these guys are going through. Let me throw them a couple of bones.
yeah, and I think that picks up on
But
the,
the
on the
way
final
that it was
point.
done.
I think that picks up on the final point: the lack of communication, the fact that it took 2, almost 3 days between when the Kickstarter launched and when we got the rationale as to their justification as to why they're going down that path. That is the other problem I have, and it goes towards that arrogance factor that I mentioned before, because it's like, well, and again, Drew, as you said, if you'd actually said to me at the start, hey, we've tried already to do this, but we are literally, it's the right way. We've talked about, last episode when we talked about, early access funds, getting a pre-order and early access funds is to help you finish that last mile. If you're going to do it, but you do it as, be able to help in the beta and to get the last mile. If they said in the Kickstarter that said, hey, look, we've already got this far development, we're this far down the X-Plane path, but in order to finish, we need this amount of money to do this
and that. Yeah.
And actually specific, not this generic, I need to port my 3D model from 3ds Max to Blender bullshit. Actually,
we're at from 27,000 or something like that.
27,000 Canadian, 20,000 US.
Okay.
And it's like, if you'd actually told me and been upfront and been honest with the community, with me and the community, more the point, then it's like, okay, again, still think Kickstarter's the wrong way to do it, because going back to what I said before about the whole established company bullshit, but I would have been a little bit more forgiving of going, okay, you're obviously committed to this, you're developing down this. I would not, and I'll straight up and be honest, I would not have, the 2 posts I've made would have been nowhere near as ranty if they'd been upfront.
But we love when you rant. We love when you rant. That's the whole point of being a grumpy simmer, is to get grumpy. We like that.
Oh, yes.
I'm just saying.
So Millvilles, well done. Congratulations on getting me grumpy as hell for this month. That's for sure. Thank you.
It's all his fault. It's all his fault. Hey, Tristan, have you seen what Millviz is doing? And I sat there and I said, oh, here we go.
So for those who have read my first op-ed, it starts, the line starts with while doing it so pre-flight, a friend messages me to ask me had I seen Millviz on Kickstarter. That friend, yeah, that's Sérgio. Exit stage left. Okay.
But no, you definitely do have some valid points, and yeah, even though you kind of threw the Jet A all over them, you do have a very valid point, and we as a community still need to think about, how much is enough, or where we're going to draw that line, what we're willing to accept from developers.
That's the key decision. It's what are we willing to accept? Are we willing to accept paying $150 US or even 150 Canadian dollars for I'm sure very well created piece of software that at the end of the day allows us to play it being a pilot?
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Are we okay with that? Now, getting back to Sergio's point, have we proven that we're ready to accept that? Yeah, we kind of are, because I'm, looking here, Flight Sim Labs, $140 for their A320. That's just the base model. PMDG, I don't even want to look at the prices, but just the expansion pack for them is $70 US. So let's have a look. Their 747 Queen of the Skies 2 base package is $100. There you go. So apparently the ATR is going to be more expensive and harder than the 747-300. Apparently.
I will stick to my little $70 Tomcat. Thank you so much. Because you know what? It's already fully fleshed out, and we haven't even gotten the A model yet or the carrier. You know, whatever bugs that are in there are just like lingering stuff that's popping up because of the integration with ED. Best money I ever spent? Hell yeah. Most expensive module I've bought for DCS? Probably not. I think the Hornet might have been a little bit more money, but it's a lot more complete than the Hornet. And they didn't have to do a Kickstarter to come up with this.
And at the end of the day, this is the point. And again, and I take on board the counselling I've had that it's not our place to decide whether or not it's appropriate for a business to use Kickstarter, but or how a business acquires its cash and its capital to be able to create its work. But I've got to ask serious questions. And especially given Milviz's track record, I have to ask serious questions about their choices. And
there's something that I was thinking right now, and I was gonna throw the. I could answer it myself here, and I was wondering why didn't they just do a pre-order campaign or something like that, like they did before, and
well, because the last pre-order day campaign we're 6 years or 8 years on, and it still hasn't delivered a product yet.
It's still in progress, yeah.
Yeah, but still, what's the difference between that and doing a Kickstarter? Where there is a difference. They are doing a pre-order right now, but they are only going forth with getting the money from people if they reach the goal. At least it seems like at least they are trying. They are trying to actually. Confirm they have the money.
I will give them that and go, okay, it is a all or nothing Kickstarter, so that they will only,
that's the thing.
They will only get the money if they reach their funding goal. I will give Milviz credit for that. I will give them credit where credit's due.
They're probably just making sure they get the money before getting
right. And if they don't get the money, then everybody interested in X-Plane, they don't get it.
Yep.
So look, I will give credit where credit's due. At least they've chosen to go on all or nothing. It's not a just pay us money and hope for the best. It's a all or nothing. I will give them that, but I still don't find it an acceptable path to go down. And as I said, it's the arrogance and the way the community's been treated by this company is just. It makes me grumpy. It makes me very grumpy.
I'm really hoping that it works out for them because, I have enjoyed their products in the past. I don't believe that the path that they're going on right now is necessarily the right one, but, who am I to even say? Because, like I said, at the end of the day, it's not something I'm going to buy or use. But for their sake, I'm hoping that they can.
My problem with that is that if this is successful, and this happens, then it sets the precedent. It sets the standard.
I will agree with that.
The behavior we walk past is the standard we accept. Now, in our off-air conversation briefly before, we were lamenting that some of the crowdfunding and some of the indie sources of the funding have supported some absolute rubbish games over the last few years.
Just take one look at Steam.
I can't tell you the amount of bollocks I have to sift through every week to be able to bring the news to everyone, because I have to go through, and the absolute trash that I see on Steam, on the forums, on Kickstarters that are going live, the amount of rubbish I see on Indiegogo is just... It makes me despair on a weekly basis. And my problem is...
I still say the Attack Chopper dating game was the best. That was the absolute best one that I'd ever seen. The Attack Chopper dating game. I sexually identify as an attack helicopter. That's what happens when you let Kickstarters and Steve and all of that stuff take the reins. You know, we get stuff like that.
I'm so sad now. I'm so sad. So sad.
We get Rock Simulator, you know. It's a
No,
thing.
but
Look
I
at
had
how
that
cool
in the
Steve.
70s. I didn't have to simulate it. It was actually sold to you for like $20 in a bag.
here's the thing. If we start seeing this happen from community, we might actually start seeing less add-ons being released.
Yep.
Because let's face it, imagine that Drew starts developing some aircraft. I don't know, a Corsair or whatever for X-Plane, and all of a sudden, Tristan is interested in being a Corsair for X-Plane, and he just, he realizes that Drew has a Kickstarter for Corsair. He just quits developing the Corsair and starts working on something else less interesting. He's just quits at all. Just quits the project at all. Yeah, just it was something that he wanted to run. All of a sudden, instead of developing, you are going to cash out $20 or $30 for Drew's Kickstarter, and a few months later or 2 or 3 years later, Drew does nothing, vaporware, money goes boom, the project goes boom, and we have no Corsair, no money, no nothing. This can happen. These kind of things can happen, and if the gaming community is a broader community, and people are still going to release different games inside a community such as ours, in which we are kind of limited by the fact that we use replicas of real objects, real world aircraft. It kind of worries me that this can start happening. And all of a sudden we might have a ton of little small companies, one-man companies, two-man companies that start their own Kickstarter to do an amazing amount of different aircraft, and all of a sudden 90 or 99 or 98% of those aircraft never come to life,
or the quality is far less than what was anticipated. And
because there's something that people need to understand. It's one thing for you to put your own money on a project, and you have to do, just look at Hitler, not Hitler. Just look at Hitler.
Right? Yes.
Hitler. Just look at what Hitler did. Did it? They invested their own money on this project. They've been working on this for 4+ years, and they had to do it right so that they could, recover the money, recover the investment, and break a profit. Now imagine that instead of having this responsibility of recovering their own money, they would just being given the money out for them to develop the product.
Star Citizen, anyone?
Star Citizen, anyone?
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't know Nicholas personally, and I've talked to Nicholas from a few times. I think he's a great guy. So I'm not saying this would happen, but what if they had the money up front and they would they release a shitty product? Now I know of one thing that would happen. There's a certain guy with a purple hat that would cry for years and years and years.
No. He would be the.
You remember my mantra?
Yes.
Tomcat or Riot.
Or Riot.
There would be a one-man
Riot.
Riot.
Were there.
Yeah.
They chose the correct
this is a risk. Exactly. They did. Yeah. I told Nicholas, you better list this because there's this guy in the West and he's crazy.
And Sérgio, I think you've hit the absolute nail on the head there, because we're talking about here is that what is the incentive? So I mean, something when I was a sales manager, we talked about WIFM. What's in it for me? Okay, so if I'm a developer, and I go, okay, I'm going to make a Corsair, but before I make that Corsair, I want to make sure that my development costs of buying the mesh, paying someone to code the engine and whatever is all looked after before I even actually start work. or before I get too far along. So I say, cool, I'm going to put my Kickstarter out there and do that. So I know that my development cost is going to be $100,000. I say, right, I need $100,000, and let's say I get it on Kickstarter. And go, cool, right, no worries, my development costs are covered. Am I going to feel inspired to really put much into effort, especially if I go some challenges in development and go, oh, you know what, yes, I could make this better.
Some guys are.
I could make this better.
Yeah, some guys are.
By going,
we have serious.
I can make this better by putting a little bit more work in, which is going to cost me a little bit more money, but more people are going to want it and they're going to be accessible for it and they'll buy it. So we'll get that money back. But if my development costs are already paid for, I go, you know what, that's not in my budget. So that feature's just going to have to be worked. Or you know what, I know I said I was going to do actual authentic sounds of a right radial to be able to put for this aircraft, but you know what? That's going to cost me an extra $5,000 because I've got to pay for the fuel and the engine time. You know what? I'm just going to alias the sounds of the Piper Cup. But
I'm not buying that Corsair. I'll tell you that right now.
But that's the point. But that's what happens when you have a budget.
Yep.
There are plenty
things
of
get
examiners.
Different when you're playing with other people's money.
Exactly.
Basically.
Things change. Whereas if I'm playing with my money, I go, right, you know what? I have to outlay this money. Okay, but if I outlay this money, it's going to be a better quality product that I'm going to be more passionate about. People are going to see my passion. They're going to see the and they're going to hear the quality of it, and they're going to buy it. So what's in it for me as a developer? If I've got a set budget and I don't have anything to risk, am I really going to put anything at risk? Because what's the reward? Because if I put any extra outlay in, then I'm not going to be making anything back. I'm making less back.
This is not about Milvies.
And this is and just to be clear, this is not. I'm not saying this is what Milvies is doing.
We're not targeting Milvies on this. We're not saying that Milvies is going to do this.
This is a concern that for the future, that if we allow this precedent to establish, this is what we risk, because we have seen it time and again in the rest of the gaming community that this is what's going to happen. And again, I'm going to pick on Star Citizen here for a second. So I have not bought into Star Citizen. I really wanted to. I was really intrigued by it. It looked awesome, and I know both of you guys have it. $27,000 to buy the content currently on offer. If I went into their online store and bought the content they've got available, $27K US. And they've had people pay various amounts of money over the years to them, whatever. You know what? You know what they famously did a few years ago? They installed a replica door from the Star Trek Enterprise in the office.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I've seen pictures of their offices too. I've never noticed the door. Wow.
Now, I'm all for having a really cool
Other
space
people's
door.
money.
I'm really all for having a really cool space door. But could that money have been, however much it cost, could that maybe have been better spent on getting my product out a little bit sooner?
That could have been a developer's paycheck right there.
And I'm not worried about the fact that this is not about Milvies starting something. It's not about we're not targeting them and saying that they are the ones to blame. The concern I have, what concerns me is that just like we are allowing developers to charge more and more money for add-ons, I am very concerned that the community will not self-regulate. And
we are allowing it to happen.
Yeah, and we allow these bad projects to start appearing in our ecosystem, and all of a sudden we'll have these developers that are just producing horrible add-ons for huge amount of money from the community, and we will end up with kind of our own Steam with a lot of shitty content and shitty add-ons.
Whereas at the
that
moment, we've got some shitty
Yeah.
content developers, but at least they're not asking for money up front. They produce the
Right.
content first before, and they release their shitty content and be like, okay, see, now you have a choice whether you or not you want to buy it.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
That actually brings to mind one of the points that they have on this Facebook post here. Because I was going to say, when you were talking about self-regulation, one thing that comes to mind is the fact that the X-Plane community, by and large, has been pretty good when it comes to that.
They're very supportive,
And
I've noticed.
yeah. But now this point 10 that they have there, they're mentioning at this point, honestly, it's the XP fans. They're much worse than the DCS ones. I'm not sure we wish to even consider what would happen if we did do an ATR for X-Plane. So it almost sounds like it's pretty much a moot point. Like, because of the backlash that has obviously come out because of this whole situation, this almost reads like they've already made the decision that it's not going to happen. And I don't know if maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but the words are there in
it's a
black
valid
and
way
white.
of reading it. It's a valid way of reading it.
So I'm thinking that as far as self-regulation, it sounds like the X-Plane community as a whole, in general, seems to have already put the kibosh on that.
And
It makes me province user.
as much as it would be amazing to have an ATR for X-Plane, even though I think there already is one, but I don't know the quality of it. Again, I am all for seeing developers succeed, and please don't think, and I want to make this clear as we sort of round this out, that while we talk about Milviz a lot, it's not a personal attack. It's standing up for our community and expressing our concerns and having these hard conversations that a lot of people, maybe if we'd had these conversations 5 or 6 years ago, maybe we wouldn't be seeing an FS Labs product for $140. And we're not saying that it's not right for developers to charge a price or to charge for their product. Absolutely not. All three of us here are all content
they gotta
developers.
get paid.
We all need to get paid. These developers need to get paid.
Mhm.
They've got families to feed. They've got passions of their own to be able to fulfill. So we're not saying that they shouldn't be paid, but we have to question how are they going about it, and how does that then impact on us as a community. And Sergio, you made a really good point before about the whole, if helicopters start costing $100 a pop, you're walking away from the hobby. And quite frankly, there are times in the last few years when I have looked at walking away because of the rising cost of add-ons. It seems to have stabilized now at around about the $40 mark for most content. Now that the quality of content you get for $40 varies greatly between developers, but it seems to have stabilized at around that price point. But for me, I'm trying to get my partner and children out to Australia. I'm trying to get them. We're trying to go through the immigration process to get them out here to Australia. I'm trying to, I have other commitments away from flight simulation that cost money. If add-ons start costing $100 a pop, I'm walking.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And there is only and the other concern I have is that, and again, going back to you said it, Sergio, they keep, if we push the price point up, will people buy it? Yes, they do. Okay, let's nudge it a little bit higher. Will they buy that? Yeah, they will. Let's nudge it a bit higher. There's only
That's
so
the P.T.
much.
Barnum effect.
There's only so much money in the community.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so many, and I'm going to get a whole heap of flack from this, but there's only so many rich old white people in this community. Sounds horribly racist, kind of is, but at the end of the day, and Drew, back me up on this.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. That's the primary demographic right now. I would say probably the second would be the young kids, basically, because they're the ones that are showing the interest
And
People
now,
like ourselves, we're somewhere in the middle.
so the question is, how many of those young kids are going to be able to spend $140 on an add-on?
No.
They're not. They're
Very
going to
many.
ask their parents.
Yep.
They're going to
Mhm.
ask their parents.
And let's say that they buy them one. Are they going to be able to buy them 8, 10, 12?
No, at that point in time, your happy ass is getting a job.
And that's
You can
That's
buy
what-
your
that's
own
why-
add-ons.
That's why I'm saying that, if this starts to happen in the community, I see myself probably, or just, sticking with a helicopter or perhaps two, and, not buying anything else, because it's just insane.
Yeah.
You cannot support. Look, you cannot support such an expensive hobby. That's the thing.
Hmm.
And
And I'm extremely
for-
picky about what I get anyway, too. So,
yeah,
I'm not going to buy
And-
anything out there just because it's out there.
so.
Mm.
I guess as we round this conversation out, it's not a yes. Milviz is the catalyst for this conversation, but at the end of the day, it's a concerning development. And
it's a new stance in the community
Yeah.
that actually made us
it's the long term impact and potential long term impact and awareness that we want to have in the community about this, to see what happens. So anyway, folks,
We'll see where it goes.
we shall see where it goes. That's been reflections upon the events of the last few days. Stay tuned to the guys there at FS Elite. And also to the Milviz Facebook page, and of course to our various channels and enterprises for any further information about it. So I want to say thank you very much to my wonderful fellow Grumpy Simmers. I want to say thank you very much to Drew Belgiode.
Alrighty, you know where I'm headed to. I'm back in the Tomcat.
And we know he's going straight back to his Tomcat. So don't forget, folks, to stay tuned to his YouTube channel. Give it a like and subscribe.
We still have to make a video with the Tomcat someday. I gotta get the Tomcat.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold you to that.
We
too.
need to find a way to
Yeah.
land Tomcats on the top of that helipad on top of that building in Dubai. Just saying.
It
I'm
can be
I'm,
done.
I'm, try,
It can be done.
I'm trying to get Hitler to sponsor me
You
on that
let
one.
me know when that happens. I will Rio for you.
Yes,
I promise you
I
this.
know.
You have my word, and it's now out in public. The entire universe, the internet, has access to this promise that I'm making you right here. You get the Tomcat, I'll Rio for you. We're landing on the Burge.
Yeah. Okay, that's a done deal.
I will probably make a fool of myself flying a helicopter trying to film it. Anyway, and speaking of helicopters, so thank you very much to my helicopter aficionado Sérgio from helisimmer.com.
Bye, guys. See ya.
Don't forget to head over to his website for all your latest simulation and helicopter news, and of course give his YouTube channel a like and subscribe. And of course, my name's been Tristan NovaWing24. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Three Grumpy Simmers. It's been fun. We'll put some relevant links in the description down below as well for you guys, so you can have your choice. I look forward to seeing the comments in the description down below. I'm sure there will be a variety of viewpoints expressed. This should be fun. All right, folks. Thanks very much for joining us. Take care. Safe skies to all. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Ciao.